Tanjiro Kamado hails from a big family of 8 members. The Kamado family is also shown to have a rich history as they pass down the Hinokami Kagura and the sun-breathing technique to future generations. However, the technique originated in the Sugikuni family, of which the first demon slayer and the upper rank 1 demon Kokushibo were a part. This explains how Yoriichi and Kokushibo seem to look somewhat similar to Tanjiro. In this video, we'll break down Tanjiro's family tree to explain the succession of the sun-breathing technique, how it evolved to become the Hinokami Kagura, and more. Yoriichi Sugikuni. Although not biologically connected to the Kamado family, Yoriichi Sugikuni can somewhat be considered to be Tanjiro's ancestor. A genius from the get-go, he was born with a mark on his forehead, which we now recognize as the Demon Slayer mark. He had been given the Hanafuda earrings, which Tanjiro is known for, by his mother. From a very early age, he showed signs of being able to see through living things, which is the ability to tap into the transparent world that gives Demon Slayers a huge edge in battle. He had initially decided not to be a samurai despite his talent, since he didn't like violence. Later in life, he was married to a woman named Uda, whom he lost in a demon attack when she was in the first month of her pregnancy. Eventually, he became a samurai and the progenitor of the sun-breathing style. Once part of the Demon Slayer Corps, he tried to teach the sun-breathing style to his peers, but no one was able to emulate. This led to Yoriichi developing other breathing techniques derived from sun-breathing, such as water breathing, wind breathing, and the like, for his peers to use based on their compatibility. His twin brother, Michikatsu Sugikuni, despite being so genetically close to him, was unable to adopt the sun-breathing technique as well, proving that it wasn't something that can be passed down by the grace of blood relations, even if it does help. His permanent Demon Slayer mark also allowed the other members of the Demon Slayer Corps to awaken their marks by resonating with, but they didn't retain their mark permanently like Yoriichi. They could awaken and reawaken it depending on the heat of the moment and the battle. Yoriichi eventually clashed against the Demon King Muzan and is almost able to kill him, but is unable to finish the job. This led to his being banished by the Demon Slayer Corps. At some point, he met Tanjiro's ancestor, Sumiyoshi Kamado, who was a charcoal merchant. After Yoriichi saved Sumiyoshi and his wife from a demon, the two gradually went on to become close friends. Yoriichi had no heirs to pass down his sun-breathing technique to, but for some reason, he was able to teach it to Sumiyoshi, which led to the Kamado family inheriting the esoteric breathing style. He also passed down his Hanafuda earrings, which eventually found their way into Tanjiro's hands. Michikatsu Sugikuni, or Kokushibo. The twin brother of Yoriichi, Michikatsu realized his brother was a once-in-a-lifetime genius when he was young. Yoriichi was born with an ominous mark on his forehead, which was considered to be a curse that would take the bearer's life by the time they were 25. Yoriichi and Michikatsu grew up in very different circumstances, with Michikatsu leading a normal life, while Yoriichi was segregated from his family in a tiny room and destined to become a priest at the temple at the age of 10. Although Michikatsu loved his brother, that love gradually turned into envy as he was just simply not as gifted as his twin. Eventually, Michikatsu became a samurai, got married, and had a child, but when a demon attacked his camp, he couldn't defeat it, and went on to become the sole survivor. He might have died as well had Yoriichi, who had become a demon slayer, not come to the rescue and easily taken the demon out. This led to Michikatsu joining the Demon Slayer Corps and training with Yoriichi and the rest. Unable to inherit his brother's sun-breathing technique, Michikatsu developed the moon breathing technique and a permanent Demon Slayer mark. This created 2 issues. 1, moon breathing, although strong, wasn't on par with sun breathing, and 2, Michikatsu developing the same ominous mark as his brother made him terrified of the curse it brought, the curse that would kill him by the time he turned 25. Because Michikatsu's envy had made him hellbent on surpassing or at least catching up to Yoriichi in terms of strength, he ended up taking Muzan Kibutsuji's offer, turning into a demon. Such a body would not only make him far stronger physically than a human, be it a normal person or a demon slayer, but he would also defy aging and be nearly immortal unless beheaded with a Nichiren sword or killed by sunlight, giving him all the time in the world to get strong enough to outdo his brother. This led to Michikatsu becoming the 6-eyed upper rank 1 demon known as Kokushibo, who looked eerily similar to Tanjiro when he was introduced in the story. When it comes to his permanent Demon Slayer mark, Tanjiro is more similar to Michikatsu than Yoriichi, since Yoriichi is the only person ever to be born with such a mark. Meanwhile, both Tanjiro and Michikatsu awaken their marks and permanently retain them on their foreheads. The difference, however, would be that Michikatsu awakened it due to his close proximity to Yoriichi and was probably able to retain it permanently due to their blood relationship. Tanjiro awakened and retained it because he was capable of performing the sun-breathing style. Sumiyoshi Kamado. Sumiyoshi is the oldest member of the Kamado family that we're aware of, as we learn that they inherited the sun-breathing technique from Yoriichi himself. He's quite similar to Tanjiro in appearance and nature, with his red hair and eyes, black and green checkered kimono, his humble mannerisms and personality, and his profession as a charcoal seller. He had moved into an abandoned home with his wife. During the last month of her pregnancy, they were attacked by a demon when Yoriichi, who was the previous tenant of the house, came to their rescue. Naturally, Sumiyoshi grew to be eternally grateful to the demon slayer, and the two grew close as friends. Sumiyoshi and his wife went on to have another child, whom Yoriichi was once tasked with babysitting. Sumiyoshi believed that he was able to continue his life as a family man and have children with his wife because he had been saved by his friend. For the Kamado family, Yoriichi would often perform his sun-breathing technique. Sumiyoshi would ardently watch each of these forms and burn the movements into his memories. This led to Sumiyoshi inheriting the same technique and creating the Hinokami Kagura variant, which translates to the Dance of the Fire God, which was passed down to his descendants alongside Yoriichi's Hanafuda earrings. Suyako Kamado. Not much is known about Sumiyoshi's wife, except the fact that she was a happy and cheerful woman who was also hardworking and a loving mother. Like her husband, she was grateful to Yoriichi and would request him to perform his sun-breathing forms for the family as she found them delightful, which led to Sumiyoshi inheriting the technique. She had two children, one of which went unnamed, but the other was Sumire Kamado. Yoriichi had visited the Kamado household for the first time during the birth of the latter. Tanjiro Kamado. The Kamado family members existing between the time of Sumiyoshi and Tanjiro aren't known to us, but what can be said with certainty is that Sumiyoshi was able to pass down the Hinokami Kagura to his descendants. Because Yoriichi performed it for the family for recreation, it became tradition in the family to perform the Hinokami Kagura in festivals, which is how Tanjiro would generally see his father, Tanjiro, performing the breathing style. He was also shown to have a pink patch on his forehead, signifying a permanent demon slayer mark waiting to be awakened. However, Tanjiro was a sickly man with a frail body and never became a demon slayer or found himself in a situation where his pink patch would transform into a complete mark. When Tanjiro was younger, he would see his father perform the Hinokami Kagura on a freezing night of the festival until sunrise, despite his poor physical health. He would learn from Tanjiro that he could only do so because he could breathe in a certain way, which allowed him to perform the dance without being obstructed by the temperature. Once, Tanjiro witnessed his father, who seemed to have no fighting spirit, slay a monstrous bear with ease not long before his death. He later awakened the memory as he fought Akaza to unlock the selfless state, where a demon slayer blocks their senses and feelings to open up the mind and access the transparent world, which we now know is something Tanjiro had access to. Naturally, the Hinokami Kagura, Hanafuda earrings, and green and black checkered kimono were passed down from Tanjiro to Tanjiro. Kia Kamado. The wife of Tanjiro Kamado and the mother of Tanjiro and Nezuko Kamado, Kia Kamado had not inherited the sun-breathing style or the Hinokami Kagura. However, since she was part of the Kamado family and had access to the knowledge of the technique, she became Muzan's target alongside her children. Muzan believed that injecting his blood into the members of the Kamado family would allow him to create a demon who would be able to conquer sunlight. As a result, he attacked the family in Tanjiro's absence and injected a high dose of his blood into each of them. While a higher dose of Muzan's blood created a stronger demon, one would have to be a strong human in the first place to survive the lethal dosage. For this reason, the upper rank one, who has the highest dose of Muzan's blood, was Michikatsu, who had a permanent demon slayer mark and the moon-breathing technique. Akaza, another powerful upper rank demon, withstood Muzan's high dose of blood, as he was already a very powerful Soryu-style martial artist. The Kamados, however, were mostly non-combatants, and as such, died from receiving too much of Muzan's blood at once, which disappointed the Demon King. Kia met the same fate, especially as someone who was not genetically related to the Kamados and instead had married into the family. Before her death, she had 6 children with Tanjiro, namely Tanjiro, Nezuko, Takeo, Hanako, Shigeru, and Rokoda. Takeo Kamado. Tanjiro's younger brother didn't possess any special abilities or power. He might have been able to learn the Hinokami Kagura at some point, as Tanjiro did as well, but he did not get the opportunity to live long enough for that day to come. Takeo was indirectly responsible for Tanjiro unlocking the first stage of his Demon Slayer mark. As a stand containing hot coals was about to fall on him, Tanjiro jumped in to protect his brother. In the heat of the moment, he ended up acquiring a pink patch similar to that of their father's on his forehead. Following Muzan's attack on the Kamados, Takeo was unable to survive the lethal dose of demon's blood that was administered. Hanako, Shigeru, and Rokoda Kamado. Similar to their brother Takeo, Hanako, Shigeru, and Rokoda did not possess extra abilities from the get-go or a Demon Slayer mark. They might have been able to awaken their marks at some point, but they didn't live long enough to see that day as they passed away from Muzan's blood dosing. Nezuko Kamado. The one Kamado sibling who did survive Muzan's attack was Nezuko, who was the second eldest sibling after Tanjiro. Muzan believed that none of the members of the family had survived his attack, but he was not aware of the fact that Nezuko had transformed into a demon. Her transformation created the basis for the story, as protagonist Tanjiro made it his ultimate goal to turn his sister human once again. Due to being part of the Kamado family, which was capable of learning the Hinokami Kagura, Nezuko wound up as a different type of demon. She was conditioned by Urokodaki to kill demons and protect humans. She was also discouraged from consuming humans and replenished her energy by sleeping for long hours, which delayed her evolution as a demon. Because of this, she was unable to speak coherently for the longest time. Her connection to the users of the sun-breathing technique allowed her to manifest a special type of blood demon art as a demon, wherein she could cause her blood to explode into flames when in contact with an external source. Not only did these flames harm demons, but they were also ineffective on humans, making Urokodaki's conditioning to kill demons and protect humanity a massive success. She was also one of the two demons created by Muzan who was able to break free from the Demon King's control due to her love for her brother and humanity. For this reason, Muzan could not track her whereabouts like he could with other demons, and she possessed free will. Eventually, as she slowly evolved, she managed to conquer sunlight and became the first demon ever to be able to do so. This was possible due to her connection to users of the sun-breathing style, as well as the fact that she and Tanjiro had been fed soup made with the blue spider lily when they were sick, which was a flower that grew 2 to 3 times a year and only bloomed when the sun was out. Muzan was hell-bent on acquiring this flower because he knew it would help him conquer sunlight, but because demons couldn't go out in the sun, he was never able to get his hands on it, while Nezuko managed to do the impossible. Later, Lady Tameo developed a medicine using Muzan's blood, which turned her back into a human. Throughout most of the story, Tanjiro's friend Zenitsu had a crush on her, whom she went on to marry in the future. Tanjiro Kamado. The eldest sibling of the Kamado family and the only user of the sun-breathing style following Tanjiro's death, Tanjiro joined the Demon Slayer Corps as a water-breathing style user, hoping to take down Muzan and revert Nezuko back into a human. He wanted to defeat Muzan to prevent anybody else from experiencing the same tragedy he did ever again. He was also the inheritor of the Hanafuda earrings. His pink patch evolved into the Demon Slayer mark following his first encounter with a demon before he started training with Urokodaki. It was during his first battle against one of the 12 demon moons, more specifically the lower rank 1 Rui, that he performed the Hinokami Kagura for the first time. In later battles, such as the one against Gyutaro in the entertainment district, his mark evolved to take on a flaming appearance before reverting to its standard appearance. Him being the only bearer of a permanent mark also allowed the Hashiras to awaken their Demon Slayer marks when they fought around him. His Hanafuda earrings also made him a prime target of Muzan's in the first season, as Yoriichi sported the same and had almost defeated the Demon King. Like Yoriichi Sugikuni and his father Tanjiro, Tanjiro was able to attain the selfless state and unlock the transparent world during his fight against Akaza in the Infinity Castle. He eventually went on to fight Muzan with help from the other Hashiras, trying to stall the Demon King until the sun was out, when he performed all 12 forms of the Hinokami Kagura in succession, like his father, to attain the 13th form, which was able to attack several of Muzan's vitals at once. However, as Muzan was on the verge of death due to the sun, he transferred his powers to Tanjiro because he knew Tanjiro, like Nezuko, would prove to be invulnerable to the sun. With Tanjiro becoming a demon, Muzan's assumptions proved to be true due to Tanjiro's powers stemming from the sun and because he had consumed the blue spider lily soup as a child. He was then given a medicine created by the insect Hashira Shinobu and Lady Tameo, made from wisteria, which was like poison to demons, which made him human once again. Kaneo Suyuri. Kaneo joined the Demon Slayer Corps at the same time as Tanjiro, and her exceptional natural talent and usage of the flower-breathing technique led to her becoming an apprentice of the insect Hashira. She was also the adopted sister of the Hashira and her sibling, Kanai. Kaneo proved to be much stronger than Tanjiro initially, despite them not having much of a strength gap during the final selection, and that's how he went on to learn about the constant state of total concentration breathing, where a Demon Slayer maintained a state of performing the technique 24/7, even even when asleep. As she had been sold to a stranger as a kid and was kept bound before being freed by Shinobu and Kane, Kanao barely spoke and could not make her own decisions. However, after Tanjiro advised her to stay optimistic and flip a coin to decide for herself, she began to develop slight feelings towards him. She eventually grew more decisive and talkative, and she learned to show her emotions better. She was also a key player in defeating Doma when she unlocked the final form of her flower-breathing equinoctial vermilion eye, which raised her kinetic vision to its maximum limit, allowing her to perceive her opponent's speed in slow motion. Although this partially blinded her, she used it again after Tanjiro had been turned into a demon king, allowing her to read through his movements and help Nezuko inject the medicine made by Tameo and Shinobu into his bloodstream, which helped Tanjiro turn into a human once again. Kaneo and Tanjiro eventually got married. Kamado. Kanada is the great-great-grandson of Tanjiro and Kaneo, who was seen living in the 21st century towards the end of the manga. He takes more after Kaneo than Tanjiro in terms of appearance as well as behavior, with him often sporting a blank expression in his eyes with an almost monotonous speaking voice like his great-great-grandmother. He learned to perform the Hinokami Kagura dance from his ancestors and performs it annually at the shrine managed by the Ubuyashiki family. However, the dance is perceived only as a dance and not as an offensive form of using a sword. He's not very athletic and leans more towards academics. Sumihiko Kamado. Kanada's younger brother and naturally the other great-great-grandson of Tanjiro, Sumihiko takes more after Tanjiro, sporting the same red hair and eyes as his ancestor's cheerful and optimistic personality. He is shown to be someone who oversleeps and is not very academically inclined. However, he is quite athletic and often noted for performing parkour, mimicking the consecutive movement of all 12 forms on the Hinokami Kagura, but in a more urban manner in an urban setting. Like Kanada, he also performs the ceremonial version of the Hinokami Kagura yearly. The brothers are not seen sporting a Demon Slayer mark, maybe because there's no need for it anymore. But we have seen that any perilous situation can cause the mark to awaken, since Tanjiro awakened his pink mark to protect Takeo from a brazier. It is possible that a realistic perilous situation might result in the manifestation of the mark for Sumihiko or Kanada, but the annihilation of demons may also mean that the mark will never manifest again, even if Tanjiro's descendant finds themselves in an extreme situation. Toko Agatsuma. As the great-granddaughter of Nezuko and Zenitsu, Toko Agatsuma is distantly related to Tanjiro. She takes more after Nezuko in appearance and wishes to be a prosecutor in the future. Yoshiteru Agatsuma, Toko's younger brother, Yoshiteru Agatsuma, is as distantly connected to Tanjiro as Toko is. He is shown to be more similar to Zenitsu with his appearance, tendency to cry, and penchant for cute girls, while he sports Nezuko's darker hair. He is seen reading his ancestor Zenitsu's memoirs of fighting the Demon King and believes that the Demon Slayers who fought hard in those eras reincarnated to live happy lives, which seems to be true. Today's video comes to an end. Did you enjoy it? Who's your favorite member of the Kamado family? Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below, and until next time, thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and have a marvelous day.